Hey there, this is James and welcome to my first ever members only video lesson. Now a few weeks ago I sent out an email asking you if there was anything you'd like me to cover in some of these lessons. I had a ton of responses. Sorry it's taken me a few weeks to get through them all and put something together for you, but I'm going to try and roll out a new one of these every 2 or 3 weeks. So look out in your inbox for these lessons coming soon, and any questions or anything you want me to do, just reply to one of the emails that I send out to you and I'll do my best to cover it in one of these videos. Now, I had a great question from Mike about using harmonics on the acoustic guitar. Now, Mike is mainly an acoustic player, so I'm going to demonstrate all these techniques on acoustic guitar today. But if you're an electric player, don't go anywhere, stay here, because all this stuff will work just as well on electric guitar as well. And later on I will be demonstrating some of these on the electric guitar so you can hear them in a different kind of musical context. I'm going to show you 3 devices you can use, so let's dive in and look at the first one. The basic idea of all the harmonics techniques that I'm going to show you today in this video are playing notes up an octave, so 12 frets higher. Now, this is because this is the easiest way to get really clear harmonics. So let's look at this first technique here. I'm playing an open E chord and I'm playing an A sus2 chord. So just in case you don't know those chords, we've got the E chord is the A string and the D string at the 2nd fret and the G string at the 1st fret. And the A sus2 chord is the open A string, the D and G string at the 2nd fret, and the open B and open high E string. Really nice sounding chord, that one. Now what I'm doing, rather than just strumming these like this, which sounds fine, but if we want to create a bit of variation, we can use some harmonics. Now these first harmonics, it's quite a basic technique and it's not a particularly accurate technique, but it does work and it's a great one to get started with. So basically what I'm doing, I'm strumming my E chord and then using like 2 or 3 fingers on my right hand, I'm just going to sort of hit the strings at around the 12th fret and I'm tapping them just directly over the fret. And you start to bring out some harmonics. And the reason for this is because the open strings at the 12th fret give us harmonics. And there's lots of open strings in these chords. That's why I've chosen these particular chord shapes. Just a great way to get started. So I'll show you that again. I've got the E chord there. And if I drum across the strings at the 12th fret, you see I start to get some harmonics. And this is a great way just to sort of enhance and decorate some of these open string chords like these 2 I've got here. So I can do that on the A sus2 as well. Don't be too concerned about exactly which strings you're striking, because as long as you get the general effect, that's good enough for this technique. We're going to look at some more specific and more accurate techniques in a minute. So on the A sus2 I can go, and you can see I'm also strumming sort of near the 12th fret, so I don't have to move my hand, you know, miles each time I want the harmonics. I'm sort of strumming around here. Got the tap. In this next technique, we're still playing 12 frets up from each note in the chord shape, but we're being a little bit more precise. And what we're actually going to do is tap each individual string. So let me show you that without the strumming and everything here. If I've got my E chord here, I can kind of copy the chord shape an octave higher. So it's going to be at the 12th frets. All the open strings would be tapped at the 12th fret, like that. And the other ones would be kind of moved up the same amount from the 12th fret as they are down here. So like the A string and the D string would be at the 14th. And I'm just lightly tapping them above the fret. The G string is at the 1st fret, so that's going to be at the 13th fret. So it's almost like playing a bar chord up here and just tapping out those notes. So I've got the E chord here. And you can just tap any selection of those strings. I mean, I'm just kind of improvising with this general idea. On the A sus2 chord, it's the same idea. I can tap the 12th fret on the A string, I can tap 14 on the D and G string, and I can tap 12 on the B and E string. So it's just a little bit more precise, but it's the same concept really. So if I put those together, I might do something like this. E, and you don't get massive, great, big, fat, juicy harmonics using this technique. I mean, I probably would if I practiced it a little bit more and got really accurate with it. But it's just a nice way to add some simple decoration to some open chords. So that concept there, we're just tapping I'm using my first finger, and I'm just tapping 12 frets up from each note in the chord, okay? Now the next one is a little bit more advanced, and what we're going to use for this is we're going to use a specific kind of right hand technique for sounding harmonics. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to touch the harmonic above the fret that we want it at. So if we were playing the 12th fret on the high E string, say, my first finger would actually touch the 12th fret above the fret wire on the top E string, and I'm going to use my thumb kind of behind it to actually pick the string. So my first finger is going to touch the string, and my thumb's actually going to pluck the string, okay? Now these are often called harp harmonics, and you hear lots of players like Chet Atkins and Lenny Breau and Tao Farlow. Quite a lot of jazz players use this actually, and it's a really nice harmonic sort of technique. It's quite accurate, and you can play lines and things with this if you get really good at it. You can play arpeggios and all sorts of stuff. So let me show you that up close. If we've got our E chord, I can sort of mimic the chord shape by doing this. I'm going to press the low E string at the 12th fret and pluck it behind with my thumb. I'm going to do the same at the 14th fret on the A string. Same on the D string at the 14th. G string at 13 there. Pluck that one. Then I'm going to play the B string at the 12th fret, and I'm going to pluck at the 12th fret on the top E. So I get... Now you can play all sorts of little patterns like that, like sort of... So there's a few things you can do with this. It's quite a versatile technique. It takes a bit of practice to get the hang of it. So maybe on my E chord here, I could do something like that. On the A sus2 chord, I could do exactly the same. Okay, so I'm putting my finger where I want the harmonic, and I'm plucking behind with my thumb there to sound it. So if I put my strumming in now, see if I can just improvise something with that. I might go... So you can have hours of fun messing around with a nice chord sequence and trying to pick out these harmonics 12 frets up from each note in the chord. And with a bit of practice, you'll be able to find it quite easy to come up with some really lovely sounding, musical sounding ideas. Let's adapt some of these techniques now to playing on electric. Now, I've got a typical sort of rock guitar sound here, quite a lot of distortion on like I would use for like a lead sound. And some of these things become a bit messy and a bit mushed up, but we can apply them, and it's just a case of using them sparingly and using them in the right way, and you can make them sound really cool. Now let's look at just tapping harmonics. This is one of the things that you hear Eddie Van Halen do quite a lot in his playing, and Steve Vai and these sorts of guys. So it's the same principle. We're going to tap 12 frets higher from every note in our chord shape. So let's take our A sus2 chord shape, and I'm not actually going to strum it first because the harmonics tend to get a bit buried in the sound of the chord, but I'm going to tap it out. Now when I do tap, I normally use my second finger, so I'm going to do that here. I'm going to tap the A string at the 12th fret, the D string and the G string at the 14th fret, and then the B string at the 12th fret and the top E at the 12th fret. So again, you can run backwards and forwards over that chord shape. So that's something you can experiment. Same concept, holding down a chord shape and mirroring or sort of mimicking the chord shape up 12 frets by tapping above the fret wire. Let me do that one more time for you on that A+2 chord. Now, one of the best harmonic things that using tapped harmonics in a rock type setting, I think, is where you play a lick and you then tap a note 12 frets up. Now, to demonstrate this, I'm actually going to play a fragment of a pentatonic scale. So let's say I had A minor pentatonic scale at the 12th, down at the 5th fret, sorry, and I'm going to go down that. I'm going to go like 8 to 5 on the top E, 8 to 5 on the B, and 7 to 5 on the G, and then 7 on the D, okay? So we had that. Now, I could play each of those notes with my left hand, and I could tap 12 frets up with my right hand, and would actually play the scale in harmonic. So let me show you that really slow. You can see how I'm my hands are working together. I'm playing like the 8th fret and tapping 20. Then I'm going to the 5th fret and I'm tapping 17. So the hands are kind of shadowing each other as I work across the net. Again, quite a sort of Van Halen-esque kind of technique. Let me show you that one more time down the scale. Okay, what's you muting with that? I'm trying to use my right hand to mute it, but it can be quite a challenge to keep this stuff clean. Another cool use of this is to like hold a note and tap it 12 frets up. So let's say I had a lick like this in A minor pentatonic. So I had that, okay, so I'm playing the 7th fret on the D string, sliding into that, then I'm going 5 to 7 on the G, I'm going to bend that note up 2 frets, let it down, pull off to 5 and then play 7 on the G. So that's like the non-harmonic part of the lick, which is playing that. Now I'm going to tap out. I'm going to go 7, 5 on the G, 7, 5 on the D, and I'm going to tap that 12 frets up. So it's going to be 19 on the G, 17 on the G, 19 to 17 on the D, and back to the 19 on the D. Now I'm going to go back to 17 on the G, so I'm going to play 5 on the G, so I'm tapping 12 frets up. And then back to the D string at 7 with my left hand, and tap 19 on the D with my right hand. Okay, now this can also be a really cool technique to use in a much more sparing way than here, where you just hold a note and you just tap it, and you don't have to carry on doing tapped harmonics. Something like this maybe. See, I'm kind of doing one tapped harmonic and then I'm just going back to the lick. So I'm playing 7 on the D string, 5 to 7 on the G, bending it up, letting it down, pulling off, and going back to 7, and tapping that harmonic. And then I'm just going down the scale with my left hand. 5, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the D, 5 on the G, and 7 on the D. And obviously you can add in as many of those to a lick like that, or any lick really, as you want. So it's just up to you to use them in a creative way. But that's how you can adapt a few of these harmonic techniques to electric guitar and sort of in more of a rock or metal type context. Okay, well that's about it for this lesson then. So I really hope that that was useful for you and that it answered your question, Mike, and also that it answered anyone else's questions about harmonics. There's quite a few things there you can use. Now, don't feel you've got to do them all. Remember, a small amount of stuff used well, I think, is always better than a large amount of stuff not used very well. So take one or two of these techniques, the ones that you like the sound of the most, and find some creative ways to use them in your playing, because at the end of the day, music's all about creativity, and it can be easy to lose sight of that, you know, and just it becomes about practicing exercises and collecting chord shapes and collecting scales. We've got to learn to use it in a creative way, otherwise we never really make it sound very good. So that's a mistake I've certainly fallen into in the past, and it's become about doing stuff rather than finding ways to do that stuff creatively. So it's just a little spiel there, but it's just something worth thinking about. Now, in the next lesson, which I'll try and get out to you in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, I'm going to try and answer some questions that I've had sent in about soloing in like sort of a rock and metal style, using triads, using a few different scales, and just a few different approaches. So if you've got any questions about that topic, get them into me and I'll see if I can incorporate them into that lesson as well. Okay? But anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Look out for my website. It's taking a little while to get all sorted. It is being built now. Hoping it's going to be up and running by sort of June and July this year. That's June and July 2015 if you're watching this in the future. Okay, and there's going to be a lot more exclusive content and things for my members like you on there. So look out for that coming very soon. And check out all my stuff on YouTube as well. I'm adding more of that every single week. So anyway, I'll sign off. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.